The morning air was crisp, the kind that bites at your cheeks and reminds you you're alive. My partner, Alex, and I had been staking out the east side of town, an area that had seen a spike in burglaries over the past month. We had our eyes on two suspects, brothers from what we gathered, with a knack for slipping through the cracks. Today, we were determined to close those cracks for good. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, we spotted them. Dressed in dark hoodies, they moved with a purposeful stealth that set off every alarm bell in my head. "There they are," Alex whispered, his hand already on his gun. I nodded, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. This was it. We followed them at a distance, watching as they approached a seemingly empty storefront. Just as one of them produced a crowbar, Alex and I made our move. "Police! Don't move!" I shouted, my voice echoing in the silent street. What followed was a blur of motion. The suspects bolted, and we gave chase. It was a short pursuit. Desperation made them sloppy. We tackled them to the ground, the scuffle leaving us all with more than a few scrapes and bruises. But in the end, they were in cuffs, and we were calling it in. "Nice work, detective," Alex panted, wiping blood from a cut above his eye. I grinned back, despite the ache in my ribs. "You too, partner. Let's get these guys processed and then find a decent breakfast. I'm starving." The ride to the station was uneventful, the brothers too winded or too smart to try anything. Once we arrived, they were taken to the hospital to get checked out for any serious injuries before being booked. Standard procedure, but I couldn't help feeling a twinge of satisfaction at the sight of them being led away. With the paperwork temporarily out of our hands, Alex and I decided to grab a bite. There was a bar nearby that served a decent breakfast, or so I'd been told. Little did I know, our choice of dining location would turn my world upside down in a way no criminal ever had. As we settled into a booth, I couldn't shake off the events of the morning. It had been a good bust, clean and by the book. But as I was about to learn, life had a way of throwing curveballs when you least expected them. The bar was a cozy, dimly lit place, the kind that felt like a refuge from the world outside. Alex and I chose a booth in the back, a spot where we could relax and debrief in peace. The morning's excitement had left us both with an appetite, and the promise of a hearty breakfast was the only thing on my mind, until the murmur of voices from the booth next to ours caught my attention. At first, it was just background noise, the typical banter you'd expect in a place like this. But then, a particular phrase made my ears perk up. "Wild Wendy," a voice chuckled, a note of pride lacing the words. My heart skipped a beat, my thoughts immediately jumping to Wanda, my wife, whose middle name was Wendy, a detail most people didn't know. "Man, you wouldn't believe it. She's like a different person when she's, another voice bragged, the sound of clinking glasses punctuating his sentence. I leaned closer, trying to keep my expression neutral. Alex noticed my sudden interest and raised an eyebrow but stayed silent, his instincts telling him something was off. "Yeah, and the best part, her husband's a cop. Thinks he's got everything under control," the first voice continued, a round of laughter following his words. My grip on the glass tightened, the edges digging into my palm. I could feel Alex's gaze on me, full of questions. "Did they just say what I think they said?" Alex whispered, leaning in. I nodded, my mind racing. The description matched Wanda too closely to be a coincidence. The tattoo, her adventurous spirit, the fact that I was indeed a cop. It couldn't be anyone else. I had to know more. Pushing down the rising tide of anger, I signaled to Alex to stay put. "I'm going to have a word with them," I murmured, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "Be careful," Alex warned, his concern evident. "We don't need another scene." I stood, my legs feeling strangely heavy, and made my way to their booth. "Gentlemen," I began, my tone casual, "couldn't help but overhear you're talking about a wild night out. Mind if I join the conversation?" The men looked up, surprise evident on their faces. The leader, a smug-looking guy with too much confidence, sized me up before nodding. "Sure, why not? Pull up a chair, officer." As I sat, I could feel Alex's watchful eyes on my back, ready to intervene if things went south. But I wasn't there to start a fight. I needed information, and I was going to get it, one way or another. The men, emboldened by their earlier bravado, and perhaps a drink too many, didn't hesitate to share their tale. But as they spoke, the details painted a picture far different from the one I had feared. It wasn't a story of betrayal, but rather one of mistaken identity and overblown rumors, a mix-up involving the woman who shared my wife's uncommon middle name, but was not, in fact, Wanda. I'm telling you, it was insane. Wendy, or whatever her name was, she's a beast at poker. Cleaned us out, the leader exclaimed, his companions nodding in agreement. I blinked, taken aback. Poker, I repeated, my confusion evident. Yeah, man, at the casino last weekend. She was there with a bachelorette party or something. Said her husband was a cop, and we figured, maybe we could sweet talk our way out of future tickets. A second man chimed in, chuckling at his own foolishness. The tension in my shoulders began to ease, the tight coil of anger and betrayal unwinding as the truth came to light. This wasn't about an affair. It was a simple case of misidentification and a group of men trying to brag about a night that was more about losing money than compromising morals. So, you're telling me this whole thing, it was just about a game of poker? I asked, still struggling to align this revelation with the storm of emotions I'd been feeling just moments ago. Pretty much, the leader said with a shrug. Why? You thought it was something else? I hesitated, the weight of my unfounded suspicions settling heavily on my chest. No, it's nothing. Just a misunderstanding. As I stood to leave, the leader called out, Hey, man, no hard feelings, right? We all get a little jealous sometimes. Comes with caring about someone. I paused, the words striking a chord. Yeah, no hard feelings, I replied, though the sentiment was more for myself than for them. Returning to my booth, I found Alex watching me with a mix of curiosity and concern. Everything okay? He asked, his voice low. I nodded, taking a moment to collect my thoughts before explaining the mix-up. It was all a misunderstanding. They were talking about someone else, a case of mistaken identity. Alex let out a low whistle. That's a relief, huh? You had me worried for a minute there. Yeah, a relief, I echoed, though the turmoil of the past hour had taken its toll. The incident had opened my eyes to the ease with which trust could be shaken and the importance of communication and understanding in a relationship. As we finished our breakfast, my thoughts turned to Wanda. I realized that my reaction, fueled by fear and jealousy, had revealed a vulnerability in our relationship that I hadn't been willing to acknowledge before. It was a lesson learned the hard way, but one I was grateful for nonetheless. I think I owe someone an apology, I sent to Alex as we prepared to leave. He clapped me on the shoulder, a knowing smile on his face. Better make it a good one, buddy. And I intended to do just that. The morning had been a roller coaster of emotions, but it had brought with it a shocking revelation, not about Wanda's fidelity, but about my own insecurities and the strength of our bond. It was a revelation that would ultimately bring us closer, built on a newfound commitment to trust and open communication. The drive home was a silent one, my mind preoccupied with thoughts of Wanda and the conversation that awaited us. The morning's events had left me feeling raw, exposed in ways I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just about confronting Wanda anymore. It was about confronting myself, my fears, and the insecurities that had come to light. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw her through the window, moving about the kitchen. The sight of her, so familiar and yet suddenly seen through a new lens, made my heart skip a beat. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage before stepping inside. Wanda. My voice sounded more uncertain than I had intended. She turned, her smile brightening the room. Hey, you're back early. How was breakfast with Alex? There was a lightness to her tone, untouched by the morning's turmoil. I hesitated, unsure where to begin. We need to talk, I finally said, the words feeling heavy in the air between us. Her smile faltered slightly, sensing the seriousness in my tone. What's wrong? I took a moment, trying to organize my thoughts. It's about trust and misunderstandings. I'd overheard a conversation this morning, and I jumped to conclusions. Wrong conclusions. Wanda's expression shifted to one of concern. What kind of conclusions? I recounted the events at the bar, the overheard conversation, and the subsequent revelation. With each word, I could see the confusion and hurt in her eyes, a mirror to the turmoil I felt inside. So, you thought I was cheating on you? Her voice was a mix of disbelief and pain. I nodded, my own discomfort clear. Yes, and I'm sorry. It wasn't fair to you. I let my insecurities get the best of me without even giving you the chance to explain. Wanda was silent for a moment, processing my words. Then slowly, she spoke. I'm not upset that you were worried. I'm upset that you didn't trust me enough to talk to me first. Do you really think so little of me, of us? Her words struck a chord, and I realized the depth of my mistake. No, it's not that. I was scared. Scared of losing you, scared of being hurt. But that's no excuse. I should have trusted you, should have communicated better. We stood there, the air charged with a mix of emotions, the distance between us feeling more significant than the few steps that separated us. Wanda took a deep breath, her next words slow and deliberate. I understand being scared, but we've got to trust each other, communicate. That's the only way this works. Can you do that? Can we do that? I moved closer, the resolve in her eyes igniting a similar determination within me. Yes, I want to. I want us to be stronger than this, stronger together. She nodded, a fragile smile breaking through. Okay, we'll work on it together. But no more jumping to conclusions, okay? Okay, I agree, feeling the weight lift at her words. The confrontation, though difficult, had opened a door to a deeper understanding between us. It was a reminder of the fragility of trust and the strength found in vulnerability. We had both laid bare our fears, and in doing so, found a way to move forward, together. The days following our confrontation were filled with a cautious optimism. Wanda and I had ventured into a territory of vulnerability that, while daunting, had brought us closer. Yet, the shadow of my accusations lingered, a reminder of the fragility of trust. One evening, as we sat in the living room, the silence between us felt more pronounced. I glanced at Wanda, noticing the pensiveness in her gaze. Are you okay? I asked, breaking the silence. She looked at me, her expression a mix of contemplation and sincerity. I've been thinking about us, about everything that's happened. The earnestness in her voice prompted me to listen intently, recognizing the importance of this moment. I appreciate your apology, and I believe in us working through this, but I can't help feeling hurt. It's like there's this gap between us now, and I'm not sure how to bridge it, she confessed. Her words resonated with me, echoing my own uncertainties. I know, and I'm sorry for being the cause of that gap. I wish I could take back my actions, but since I can't, I want to do whatever it takes to mend what I've broken. Wanda nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and concern. I want that too, but it's going to take time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. I reached for her hand, an attempt to physically bridge the gap she spoke of. I understand. I'm committed to this, to us, for as long as it takes. What do you need from me? She squeezed my hand, a gesture of reassurance, patience, openness, and reassurance. I need to know that we're in this together, especially when doubts creep in. I can do that, and I will do that. We're in this together, no matter what, I affirmed, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. We spent the rest of the evening talking, not just about the incident, but about our hopes, our fears, and our dreams for the future. It was a conversation that felt like a tentative step toward healing, a way to fill the silence with something stronger than words, understanding. In the days that followed, I made a conscious effort to be more present, more communicative. I shared my thoughts more openly, asked about hers, and made sure to reassure her of my commitment to our relationship. And with each passing day, I could feel the gap between us slowly starting to close. One night, as we prepared dinner together, Wanda turned to me with a thoughtful look. Do you think we'll ever get back to how we were before all this happened? I paused, considering her question. I don't think we'll go back to how things were. I think we'll move forward to something better. We've learned so much about each other and ourselves through this. We'll be stronger for it. Wanda smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. I like the sound of that, moving forward to something better. As we continued cooking, I realized that the fallout from my accusations had led to an unexpected outcome. It had forced us to confront issues we might have otherwise ignored, pushing us to grow individually and as a couple. The path to rebuilding trust was long and uncertain, but it was a journey we were now committed to taking together, step by step. The morning light spilled into the kitchen, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table where Wanda and I sat, our coffee cups cradling the silence between us. It wasn't the uncomfortable silence of weeks past, but a contemplative one, filled with the unspoken agreement that we were ready to take the next step forward. I've been thinking, Wanda began, her voice breaking the quiet. Maybe we should try something new, something to help us reconnect, not just as a couple, but as individuals too. I looked up, intrigued by her suggestion. What do you have in mind? She took a sip of her coffee, her eyes alight with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. What about a couple's retreat? What of those weekend getaways focused on communication and trust-building exercises? It could give us the tools we need to navigate our feelings and uncertainties. The idea took me by surprise, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I think that's a great idea, I replied, feeling a surge of hope at the prospect of actively working on our relationship in a structured, supportive environment. Wanda's smile was all the confirmation I needed that we were on the right track. I'll look into options and see what fits our schedule, she said, her enthusiasm infectious. As the day wore on, the plan began to take shape. Wanda found a retreat that specialized in couples facing challenges similar to ours. It promised a mix of individual counseling, group sessions, and activities designed to rebuild trust and foster intimacy. The night before we were set to leave, anxiety crept in, its familiar weight settling in my chest. I found Wanda in the living room, her own apprehension mirrored in her expression. Are you sure about this? I asked, needing to hear her reassurance as much as I needed to offer my own. She nodded, taking my hands in hers. I'm nervous, but I believe this is what we need. It's a step towards healing, towards understanding each other better. We've already come so far. This is just another part of our journey. Her words, spoken with such conviction, eased the tightness in my chest. You're right. We've faced challenges before, and we've always come out stronger. This will be no different. The drive to the retreat was filled with a mix of anticipation and silent reflection. As we arrived, we were greeted by the serene beauty of the location, nestled in the heart of nature, promising a respite from the world and a chance to focus solely on each other. During the opening session, as we sat among other couples, each with their own stories and struggles, I felt a sense of solidarity. We were all here for the same reason, to mend, to grow, to reconnect. Over the course of the weekend, Wanda and I engaged in exercises that challenged us, pushed us out of our comfort zones, and encouraged us to open up in ways we hadn't before. We shared fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities, listening and being heard with a depth of understanding that had been missing. One evening, after a particularly emotional session, Wanda and I took a walk under the stars, the silence between us now filled with a profound sense of connection. This weekend has been eye-opening, I confessed, feeling a newfound clarity about our relationship and the work that lay ahead. Wanda squeezed my hand, her voice soft but steady. It has, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. It's going to take effort and patience, but I believe in us. As we stood there, under the vast expanse of the night sky, I realized that this retreat was only the beginning. A plan had been set in motion, not just to mend the fractures in our relationship, but to build something stronger, more resilient. And for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely hopeful about the future we were building together. The days following the retreat brought a sense of calm and renewed purpose to our lives. Wanda and I found ourselves navigating our daily routines with a newfound appreciation for the little moments that make up a life shared. Yet, as is often the case, life's journey is rarely without its bumps, and it wasn't long before we found ourselves standing at a crossroads, facing a decision that would test the strength of our commitment to each other and to the path we had chosen. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, Wanda broached the subject that had been weighing on her mind. I've been offered a job, she began, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and apprehension. It's an incredible opportunity, but it's in another city. I paused, processing her words. The prospect of distance was daunting, a challenge we hadn't anticipated so soon after reaffirming our commitment to rebuild our relationship. That sounds like a great opportunity for you, I said, striving to keep my voice steady, despite the turmoil of emotions inside me. But what does this mean for us? Wanda reached across the table, her hand seeking mine. I don't know, she admitted. I've been turning it over in my mind, trying to figure out how we could make it work. I don't want to make a decision without us talking it through, without considering what it means for our relationship. Her honesty and the vulnerability in her eyes spoke volumes, reminding me of the promises we had made to each other. I appreciate you bringing this to me, I said, squeezing her hand in reassurance. Let's figure it out together. We've been through so much, and I believe we can find a way to navigate this too. Over the next few days, we delved into deep conversations about our future, exploring every possible scenario. It was during one of these discussions, late at night in the soft glow of the living room lamps, that the depth of our commitment to each other truly crystallized. "I'm scared," Wanda confessed, her words barely above a whisper. "Scared of what this means for us, scared of making the wrong decision." I pulled her close, the warmth of her body a balm to the uncertainty that clouded our thoughts. "I'm scared too," I admitted, "but I'm also hopeful. We've worked so hard to rebuild our trust, to strengthen our bond. Whatever decision we make, we'll make it together." The conversation that followed was one of the most challenging and profound we had ever shared. We laid bare our fears, our hopes, and our dreams, not just for our individual selves, but for us as a couple. It was a conversation that stretched into the early hours of the morning, a testament to our determination to face this crossroads with open hearts and minds. In the end, we made a decision, one that honored both Wanda's career aspirations and our commitment to each other. It was a decision that required compromise, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief in the strength of our relationship. As we embarked on this new chapter, the road ahead uncertain, but our resolve clear, I was reminded of the power of love, communication, and partnership. Standing at the crossroads, we had chosen a path forward together, fortified by the trials we had overcome and the unwavering commitment we shared. It was a testament to the enduring strength of our bond, a bond that, despite the challenges, had emerged stronger, ready to face whatever the future might hold.